Hi, I'm Loli. Let's create something beautiful and find a little joy along the way. For this project, we'll be using 3 of these medicine bottles. I'm going to use some heat to remove the tags from them. I'm just going to heat it up just enough to soften up that glue and rip off the rest of the tag. I did have some glue residue left over, so to remove those, I took some of this glue away from Dollar Tree. I first just tried to spray it onto the bottle, but I find that the easiest way to do it is to just soak up a paper towel with that solution and just let it sit all around the bottle for a couple of minutes, and then it's a lot easier to just remove all of that glue. Then after just a few minutes, I was able to just scrub the rest away. And then I wipe off the solution with a paper towel and came back with a wipe from, I think it's called Routine Clean. Yep, from Dollar Tree. And I just cleaned off all of that oily residue off of the piece. And then I did the same thing with the other two. Then I'm going to remove the covers off of these. We will not be using them for this project, but put them to the side because we can always use them for another. Then I painted all 3 bottles with white Rust-Oleum Linen white chalk paint. Next, I took this piece of wood that I got from Dollar Tree, removing that tag. I'm going to go ahead and sand off all of the edges. Listen, they were very rough, so I sanded off all of 4 sides. Then we're going to remove all of that sand off of my surface because I want it to be nice and clean. This little lady, it is one of my most used items on my craft room. If you're interested in getting one, I will link it in my Amazon store. Then we're going to stain this using some Waverly Antique Wax. I'm going to apply using a paintbrush, and I'm going pretty heavy with it. I'm making sure to get all of the edges of my board as well. I am avoiding the middle section because I have other plans for that, but I'm just adding some on the sides on each side here because those sides will be exposed. Then I'm going to take a wipe and remove all of the excess antique wax off of the board because I wanted it to be more rustic than that heavy brown. Now we are taking a pool noodle and I'm going to slice it down the middle using my pool noodle knife from Dollar Tree. I'm using 1.5 for this piece, but it was a little bit too long, so I'm going to trim off one of the edges of the pool noodle because I want that wood on the edges to be a bit more exposed. So using the same knife, you're going to cut off a piece just so we have this nice and center with some of that wood showing on the sides. And we are going to glue this down using some hot glue onto the surface of that wood. I'm going to press it down firmly to make sure that that is properly adhered. Then I'm going to take the same pill bottles that I got ready earlier, and I'm going to put one right in the center of the pool noodle and roll it back and forth as you see there. So I have that indentation of the bottom of the bottle. And then using my pool noodle knife, I'm going to carve out that silhouette or that image off of it to create a hole. So my pill bottle will be sitting into it. So I'm just going to carve off the top section of the noodle as you see there. Once I remove that section off of there, I'm going to come back in with my X-Acto knife to remove the section that stays there on the corner. My bottle was not fitting properly this way, so I did need to carve out that bottom section of the noodle so my pill bottle will fit nice and flush onto that hole. And I repeated this process with the 2 other bottles, putting them on each side of these 2, making sure that they're the equal distance from each other. Then I took these candles that I got from my local thrift shop. I got 4 of them for $1, but one of them was not working and they were filthy. So I took that same paper towel that I had with goop off and I was able to clean them pretty nicely. Then we are going to add all 3 of these to our pill bottles. But as you see there, they could not fit properly, so you're going to come in with some more pool noodles. Look how perfect it goes into the hole of the pool noodle. So I am going to cut off 3 of these pieces of pool noodle at about 2 to 3 inches in width. Next, I'm going to take the same pieces and I'm going to slice them on all 4 sides. I'm going to turn them into a square, but being very careful not to cut that hole. I want that hole to be intact. And then I thought here will be enough for me to just do 3 of those. I got the other 2 the same way. And I said, you know what, let's put it in here. It should be perfect. Look at the hole was all squished up once I put it in there. And it just, let's just say it wasn't the best. I wasn't thinking that this was exactly this was not what I was thinking of, is what I'm trying to say. So I decided to take off some of the sides. The knife here was pretty much trying to cut open that hole, which I did not want. So I'm just carving with my fingernails pieces on the corners, as you see there, rounding off those edges so it will fit nice and perfect into that bottle. And I repeated it with all 3. Now we're going to position our candle holders in, and look at that, guys. Great hack. It's going to just sit there nice and simple, and whenever you're ready to turn them off and on, all you have to do is pull them out and turn them off and on. And they're sitting nice and erect. Now comes the fun part, embellishing this. I'm going to take a variety of different greenery and flowers from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to position them all over our pool noodle. We are using the pool noodle as our floral foam. This is a nice, inexpensive way for us to have floral foam, and it's pretty much versatile. You can use it for so many things. You can use it, as you see there, to stand up your candles, or you can use it as floral foam. You can use it as a filler. Well, you'll see later on in the video many other uses I have for this. So here you see how I position my greenery, no rhyme or reason, just seeing how everything is nice and balanced, and something that made my heart and my eyes happy. That is all I was going for. So these projects are to be inspiring you to create your own. So in this sense, you do what is best for you and what works for you and what makes you happy, because that's what crafting is for, at least for me. Crafting is relaxation and just a moment of peace, of just being immersed in my crafting. And I don't know, it's just so relaxing. So go ahead, and if you do this, go ahead and do whatever feels good. As you see there, I did the same thing in one side and the other, using this other greenery that I got from Dollar Tree. I think this was called, I think it was rosemary. I might be wrong. I just feel like lately every greenery is just called greenery at Dollar Tree. So let's just call it greenery. Anyway, then I took some of these white flowers and I cut them pretty short, because if you notice here, that pool noodle surface is pretty short, so you don't need your stems to be too long. So I'm cutting them at that level, bringing up the leaves that come at the bottom, and then sticking them in different positions in which I have exposed floral foam. And what I do to one side, I do to the other, and I do that with both sides as well. Just standing them up on there, just trying to make it look nice and wispy. That's what they look what I was going for. And I wanted it to be full and for it to just scream summer and dinner parties and all those kinds of fun things. I continued to add different types of greenery. I ended up coming in after I put the white ones on. I came back in using some eucalyptus. I think it's eucalyptus. Yes, eucalyptus, I believe, from Walmart here and there as well. I added some yellow flowers that I had left over from another project that also came from Dollar Tree. I also added some floral moss in different areas where you can still see that pool noodle, but I needed a little bit more. So I added these other flowers that I also have leftovers from Dollar Tree here and there to give another pop of color and to bring out that yellow on the candles. And now, just like that, this project is done. Let me know in the comment section, what do you think about this one?
For this project, I'll be using this beautiful charger from Dollar Tree. I'm going to go ahead and use my Rust-Oleum Linen White chalk paint and cover that section right there with it. I'm not going to do the very center of it, but I'm going to do the outer portion as you see right there. Then I'm taking some of my full card rich black chalk paint and I'm going to use it to cover the outer section of it. This is what it's looking like so far. Now I'm going to take my drill and using these two pieces. I'm using that, you see that piece in the middle that is different from the others? I'm using that as a center and then I'm going to drill holes in the upper section of the two pieces that are opposite to that middle piece. And this pretty much tells me that this will be an even place to place my hanger. Now I know what the top section of my piece will be. Then I'm going to take some of this buffalo check ribbon that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm just going to burn off the edges so it doesn't fray. Then I'm adding a little bit of hot glue on the edges here and folding that ribbon or rolling it on itself so I have a nice tapered edge. Are you enjoying this video so far? If you are, please go ahead and hit that like button. And please let me know in the comment section as well where you're watching from. I love to know how far my videos are reaching. And while you're there, share this with a friend because sharing is caring and it helps my channel grow. Thank you so much. All right, so now we're going to take that edge of ribbon that we tapered out and we're going to feed it through one of the holes that we did there. Then I'm going to create a double knot on here after I remove that tag from the back. I just did my knot, but I just put that tail through that hole twice just so my knot will be bigger and it will not go through that hole. And I repeated the same thing with the other side and I added a little bit of hot glue at the end there to still make sure that that knot did not slip away. Now comes the star of this piece. We are going to take this cow that I got from Temu. My God, I mean, I cannot wait to use this. It was so cute. Now is the time. I'm going to use a combination of E6000 and hot glue to attach this. I'm adding E6000 in some strategic places to make sure that this will be the permanent hold for this piece on here. And then all those sections in which you see no glue, hot glue is coming there. So it gives it that quick hold so we can continue. But this came out so cute. So here, be very careful. This is a metal sign and the hot glue is hot, so you know what happens. Thank goodness the paint here gets absorbed some of that heat. And that is it for this one. I thought I needed nothing else. Let me know in the comment section what you think.
For the next inspiration, we'll be using this pill bottle and some jute cord. I'm just going to add jute cord to the entire bottle. Just adding a little bit right here to start off. And you'll notice here, I will be adding hot glue on every little inch here because this first row is a foundation for the rest of the jute cord wrapping process. If you like, also, you can always paint this bottle ahead of time if you like. But I wanted to keep the plastic raw so the jute cord will attach a lot easier and it will stay there much stronger. And I continue to do this until I covered the entire pill bottle, including the top. If you're enjoying this video, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up and let me know so far which is your favorite. And don't forget to share with your friends as well because sharing is caring and it helps my channel grow. Thank you so much. And subscribe. It is free and it means the world to me. Next, I took some cardboard. I'm just going to cut off a piece of it to use throughout this DIY. First, we are going to make some ears. So I'm just going to see exactly how much I will need as far as the width to use for this. And using this piece that I cut off, I'm going to create two little ears. So I'm going to form with my scissors a teardrop shape, but leaving the bottom of the teardrop a little bit wider. Once I form that first teardrop, I'm going to use it as a template to trace off the second one. And then I cut it out. I use the ears to form the feet. So I'm going to place this on top of another piece of cardboard and place that steel bottle on top of it and then trace the figure based on that and then cut out that shape as well. Next, I took some jute cord and wrapped all 3 pieces with it. In any areas in which the shape is getting thinner as you go up, you're going to have the jute cord try to slip, so at this point you will need to add hot glue on these areas. Friend, let me know in the comment section where you're watching from. I love to know how far my videos are reaching. Thank you so much. And here are all 3 pieces covered. Now we're going to put this together. I'm going to add a generous amount of hot glue onto the bottom there. At this point, my hot glue decided to go kaput. Nothing was coming out from the tip, but I had a lot coming out from the bottom of the tip. So I just added that amount of hot glue there, pressed it down. Now I'm going to add some hot glue to the bottom section of the ears and hold them in place until that glue sets. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. Here you can see that I'm just dipping that edge onto the bottom section of my hot glue gun there because it was not coming out anymore. It was very, very little the amount, so I had to invest in a new one. So once this got nice and formed, so I'm going to go ahead and use this felt tip marker in the color black that I got from Dollar Tree to form 2 ovals that are going to be my eyes. I'm going to also fill them in with that color. Then I'm going to form the nose. So I'm just going to create like a small little oval long ways for the nose, and then I'm going to loop 2 little C-like shapes from the bottom so it would look like the nose and the mouth. Then I took a white pen and I tried to do the white of the eyes using that. It did not work. So I'm going to come in with my squeeze bottle that has some white Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint in it to bring in a nice bright pop of white there that will look like the white of the eyes. Next, we are taking this fabric that we got from Dollar Tree and we're going to take a double piece. Just a small piece. I'm just doubling the fabric there at the corner, cutting off that little rectangle there, and then using that rectangle, I am going to cut off 2 shapes for the ears. It's going to be the same thing, just cutting off like a teardrop shape, leaving that top section of the teardrop a lot wider than usual. And I made sure to create these teardrops a little bit smaller than the actual ears, so it will look like it's the inside of the ear. And using some hot glue, I'm going to attach these pieces to each one of the ears. At this point, I was really still trying with this hot glue gun to see if it will actually work. But yeah, it wasn't working. I ended up with that whole stick pretty much just balled up at the bottom of my hot glue gun. But here we got some of it and we were able to attach that. And we're going to repeat the same process, adding fabric to the feet. Then I took some of this beaded garland from Dollar Tree and I'm going to just wrap it around the base of the ears until I have enough beads at a nicely spaced amount, and then I'm going to cut off the excess and I'm going to leave the tail a little bit longer so I'm able to tuck it behind and keep all this in place. Then I took this flower that I got from a pick at Dollar Tree. I'm going to just cut it right underneath the base right there and glue it with a little bit of hot glue right there at the corner. And I thought this was a perfect touch, but I'm not done yet. We need some whiskers, so I thought this would be perfect for some whiskers. I took some more of that beaded garland. I'm going to cut 2 pieces that are about the length that I did of the first one. Then I'm going to cut off an extra piece because I'm going to use these 2 little beads to create the end of my whiskers. So I'm going to remove those 2 beads from that piece or from one of the pieces, and I'm going to glue that bead to one of the ends of the other 2 pieces that I cut off, and this will create like a 3-part beaded section there. And then I'm going to trim off that other edge, add a little bit of hot glue, and glue them on each side of the nose. And I thought this was a perfect touch and cute little whiskers for this little bunny. Let me know in the comment section, what do you think about this one? I think it's amazing and beautiful. And of course, I had to trim off the fuzzies. And that is it. Let me know what you think about this one in the comment section below. For this project, I'll be using this charger plate from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to paint it with 2 coats of Rust-Oleum in white chalk paint. Then I took some of this Waverly Antique Wax and this blush brush and use it to apply very small amounts of antique wax on the charger plate. I'm being very gentle, almost like an archaeologist, uncovering some rare artifacts and really being careful not to destroy them. I keep coming over it about 3 times until I get to this desired amount. Then I'm taking some of these napkins that I got from Lady Red Crafted, Miss Katie, and I'm going to cut all of these butterflies out. But I only ended up using 2. But I took each one of them and removed the 2 plies that came behind it. Then I took one of these water pens from Dollar Tree, added some water to it, and I'm going to brush that water on all the edges of the butterfly. I'm going close enough that I will be tearing off the edge, but not so close into the butterfly so I don't risk tearing off the butterfly itself. And then using the edge of my nail, I am just tearing off like a little section all around that butterfly, leaving just small amounts of that other paper going around. But do not throw away that paper that we are tearing off because we will be using it also for this project. And this is what we ended up with once we were done, and I did that with all 4 of the butterflies. However, I ended up using just 2. I'm positioning them exactly as you see there, and then I'm going to take a small amount of Mod Podge and add it onto my charger plate and brush it on, making sure that it's nice and even and that every little area of that section has Mod Podge on it. And then once it's damp, I'm going to position the bottom section of my butterfly right onto that Mod Podge, and then using the same brush without dipping it in the Mod Podge again, I'm going to lightly brush that on to make sure that the tissue paper or the napkin adheres to all of the curvature of the pattern of the charger, and I did this in small sections until the entire butterfly was adhered. And I repeated the same thing with the second butterfly as well. And I also added a thin amount of Mod Podge on top of the napkin as well to protect it. I find that going in smaller sections, adding this, it just avoids the Mod Podge from drying. It also ensures that we concentrate in small sections, making sure that there's no wrinkles and that every inch is adhered. Today's video is part of the Talented Creators collaboration that is hosted monthly by Aurea from DIY with Aurea, myself, Loli from Loli Days Creations, and our guest host this month is Gwen from At Home with Gigi. The links to our channels and to the playlist will be linked in the description box below and also pinned in the comments. Make sure to head over to the channels and to the playlist and show everyone some love. And this month we are doing all about chargers. See you there. All right, so I repeated the same process with this other butterfly, making sure that it was properly adhered, just as I did with the previous one. Next, I took this home sign that I got from Dollar Tree. It comes in a packet too, and I'm going to paint it with some Rust-Oleum and white chalk paint. I'm only doing the front of it. Then I'm taking the leftover pieces that I took off when I was removing the edges from the butterflies. Now we are going to use it for this section right here. I'm just going to take small pieces and add them onto the front of this home sign, just, putting them over each other in places in which I need to, trying to do pretty much a puzzle until the entire word is completely covered. And once it is adhered, I'm adding also a coat of Mod Podge to the top as well to protect it. And I continued to do this process until the entire word was completely covered. Once the paper was nicely dry, I'm going to take small scissors from Dollar Tree and cut off the excess. In the places in which I couldn't cut off the excess, I will be using a different approach. I'm going to be using the light up method. That's what I call it. I don't know what it's really called. I've seen many channels use it. And it's just when you take a lighter and you burn off the excess paper, and it just happens to burn off in the right places, leaving a little charted edge as you go along, which just makes this piece look even more rustic. In some areas, it's harder to burn, like areas like right here in the middle of the E, and also in the middle of the O. In those areas, you have to pretty much just put it as you see there. You see how much I burn it in the back. The secret is to split that open and then burn the edges. And in any areas that were just not as clean as you hope, you can always go in with a small nail file and remove the excess. Look how cute this turned out. Now we're going to add it to our charger plate. I will be using a combination of our Quick and Thick from Tide Bond and some hot glue, and I'm using the hot glue only because I want that quick adhesion. Then I position my home sign on a slant. Next, I took this greenery. I got this at Walmart, I believe, and I'm going to use the entire pick. But first, I started with 2 pieces. I'm going to cut 2 pieces there at the base of the stems and then bend them over because I want them to drape on the sides. I wasn't quite happy with how the greenery was looking, so I'm just going to be turning the little pieces of greenery around until I have them all dangling towards the bottom of the charger plate. Then I glue them using some hot glue towards the side of the charger, as you see there. Then I added a nice amount of hot glue over it to secure it, and I held it in place until all the hot glue set. Then I took this ribbon that I got about 2 years ago. I haven't seen it since, from Dollar Tree. At this during the fall season. This is burlap in color red. And I created that awareness bow, cinched it in the middle as you see there, and took another piece of red jute cord and tied that bow right in the center. And then I cut off the rest of the ribbon. The tail here was a little too long. I was hoping to add some of the ribbon on the middle, but then I changed my mind. So here I'm just cutting off so both sides are even. And we are going to glue that bow right in the center of the 2 pieces of greenery. And then we are going to cut the tail of the bows in a slant. My friend, if you enjoyed this video so far, please don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and hit the notification bell so YouTube notifies you each time I upload a new video. All these things are free and they mean the world to me. All right, now we are going to take some more greenery, cut pieces off, and add it onto this. We just needed a little bit more. I just felt like the greenery was a little bit sparse, so I wanted to go ahead and finish it off. For this one, I'm taking 2 pieces of greenery and combining it into one. I'm just adding the greenery from one pick into the other and cutting the base all the way to the bottom of that pick. And then we are going to arrange it at the bottom of this other pick until it looks nice and full. Once I like the positioning of it, I'm going to add a nice dab of hot glue on it and let it dry. Then we place our bowl back down and look how cute that's turning up, but we're not done yet. I need a little something on that bow. So I'm going to take one of these hearts from Dollar Tree, stain it with some Waverly Antique wax, remove that excess stain, and glue it right there to the middle of the bow. And I feel like this gave it the perfect touch. But we are still not done yet. We need a hanger. So I'm using a piece of this garland that I got from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to just stain it and make it nice and grungy using some of the Waverly Antique wax. After knotted the ends, we are going to glue this to the back of our charger plate, making sure that that home sign is exactly where we want it, then adding a bit of hot glue going up as you see there, placing that jute cord over it, and then I added some more hot glue over that, and I'm doing the same thing to the other side as well. Next, I took 2 pieces of burlap ribbon that I had laying around, and I'm going to add it over the 2 pieces of jute cord. And I'm pressing down, being very careful not to burn my fingers. And that is it for this one. Let me know in the comment section, what do you think about this one? I am in love. For my next today's video is part of the Everything Crafting collaboration, and this month we are doing all of our top crafts from 2025. And this is hosted by Katie from Lady Red Crafting and Lisa from Our Grey House. The links to their channels and to their playlists will be linked in the description box below, so make sure to head on over and give everyone some love. Inspiration is going to be my Pride and Joy, my beautiful little chicken. We're going to start it with the pill bottle, of course, and some of this fabric that I got from Dollar Tree. I just took a piece and cut it into a square and a rectangle. I'm going to add some hot glue to the cover and place my square right on top of it. And then I'm going to add hot glue on the edges of the cover and keep tapping it down until the fabric is adhered on all sides. If you're still with me this far into the video, I want to say thank you so much for sticking around with me. I truly appreciate your time. Leave me your favorite emoji in the comment section so I know who you are and I'm able to give you an appropriate thank you for your time. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate you. Well, I trimmed off that excess from the bottom, and then I'm going to take that rectangle and wrap it around the rest of the pill bottle. Once I knew exactly how much I needed, I'm going to take my scissors and trim off the excess fabric. Now it's time to adhere the fabric. I took some hot glue and I added it to the top section of the pill bottle and pressed it down until it was in place, and I repeated that until I went around the entire pill bottle. Just glue in the top section at this time. Once I got to the end, I'm going to add hot glue on each side where the fabric is hitting the rest, and then I'm going to seal the edges as well here and make sure that it's as seamless as possible. To make sure that the bottom was also even, I'm just going to make slits on that remaining fabric that I had. I'm going to create the slits as you see there, and then using some hot glue, I'm going to tack down each one of those flaps down. I did this as first, but then the piece was kind of wobbly with this. I thought that the indentation in the bottom of the pill bottle will be covered by that fabric, but it was actually more bulky than I expected, so I ended up trimming off that portion at the bottom. Then I took another piece of cardboard and I'm going to create some feet for my chicken. So I just did that side right there. It's looking like it's two big toes of a piggy, but that's not what it is. I'm going to cut another triangle in each one of those little humps. And slowly but surely, I will be forming this into some chicken feet. Just enjoy the process. Once I was happy with the shape, I cleaned off the edges. Now we are going to make a little beak. I'm just going to cut the edge of the cardboard, and that is it for the beak. Just going to make sure that it's symmetrical and put it to the side. Then I took another piece of cardboard and we are going to create the crest. Is it a crest? I don't know. In Venezuela or in Spanish, we call it cresta. What do you call it in English with the top section, that meaty section that is in the top of a chicken? Let me know in the comment section. Well, to form that piece at the top of the chicken's head, I'm going to take a piece of cardboard and cut it in that shape as you see there. And then I'm going to cut little triangles trying to go in the same direction. So it would look like that zigzag thing that it has at the top. And then I'm going to just trim off the bottom section so it will all be even. It was a little bit too long here, so I just removed that top section there, and I like how it's looking now. Then we are going to create some wings as well, and we're going to use cardboard also to do that. I cut a piece of cardboard like in the half of a heart shape, and then we are going to do some zigzag on here as well. So I'm just going to cut little triangles on this one as well, trying to keep them kind of like in a lower angle so it would look like feathers. So here I'm just trying to keep them all in the same direction and kind of the same spacing, but not quite. I want it to look like it's different, layers of feathers pretty much. Once I was happy with those edges, I'm going to go ahead and trim off any excess that I have there at the top and use that wing as a template for the second one. Using this felt pack that I got from Dollar Tree, I'm going to use the two orange colors here. I'm going to use a darker orange to cover up the feet of the chicken. I'm just going to place hot glue on one side, press it down on the felt, making sure to have about a half an inch of extra fabric on all sides. And just going to go ahead and trim it that way along the entire shape, going in the places that have the little triangle cut out. So as I'm gluing this in, the shape of that feet will not be lost on the process. So I just added hot glue on the other side of the feet and being very careful not to burn myself and also to not lose that shape. I am bending the felt down onto each one of the ridges, making sure to go in on those divots as well, pulling it in so you will continue to see the separation of the two little peaks on the shape. And I continue to do this until all of the edges were towards the back section of the feet. Then I'm going to take another piece of felt and I'm going to place it on this back section. So I'm just going to add some hot glue to the bottom of the feet where the cardboard is showing and press it down onto another piece of felt, and then just use small scissors, as you see there, to cut off the shape. As you're trimming this, just be sure that you're not cutting the felt that's already attached to the cardboard. And then here, the scissors make it easy to cut into those little divots that we have here, so you do not miss the shape also on this piece. And once everything was done, we are going to add some hot glue to the other pieces and cover them up just the same way as I did with the other ones. I used the dark orange for the beak and the crest and the lighter orange for the wings. Now it's time to put it together. I am going to place some hot glue in that back section of the feet. And here, guys, my hot glue was just kaput completely at this point. So I ended up trying to use a dowel rod to take the rest of the glue out, but it didn't quite work out that way. So I'm just going to be dipping my dowel rod onto my hot glue as I'm doing this project until I found and bought another hot glue gun. So as you saw there, I added hot glue to the bottom of the feet. I placed my pill bottle over that. Now I'm taking the dowel rod with the hot glue and adding glue to that flat section of each one of the wings, and then positioning on both sides of my torso of my chicken. Once those went together, we are going to add the crest, or tell me in the comments what do you call this in English. I'm going to add it to the top as well. And then I'm going to take some googly eyes that I found at Dollar Tree and add them to the front. Just adding it with a little bit of hot glue as well. Once both of those eyes were positioned in place, I am going to take my beak, add a little bit of hot glue on the back of the beak, and position it right underneath of my eyes. I am obsessed with this chicken. Look how cute it turned out. All right. Well, I wanted this to have a place to live in. So I took one of these circles that I got at Walmart, and I'm going to use these florals as well. Here, I'm just seeing where exactly I want to put them. You'll see me here trimming off the bottom edge and cutting this in half, and we're going to be positioning out here. But I decided to stain this circle with some Waverly antique wax. Then I repositioned my chicken in place, and we're going to arrange some florals around it. We're going to use these florals that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm going to trim like with an inch down from the flower, and we're going to add it on the sides of the other two pieces I glued on each side, as you see here. I'm just going to keep layering things onto this. I wanted this to look like the chicken was just hanging out in the garden in a little patch of grass. So here I'm cutting the pieces from that purple flower so it would look like grass all in the front. But before I did that, I wanted this to have a more natural look. So I took some floral moss. So actually I got reindeer moss from Dollar Tree. Once I've got done doing these two pieces, I decided that I wanted to add some reindeer moss to the front section. I didn't want to cover the front too much because I wanted those toes of the chicken to really show. So I'm adding things that have very low profile to this. So it would just look like he is just hanging out in the grass instead of just hanging out on a piece of board. So I added the reindeer moss all alongside there. Then I cut this floral piece in about 5 or 6 different pieces. And I'm going to arrange it, adding it to the front section here. So it will look like he is just standing in a patch of grass. And I added that white flower on the side as well. And this, look how cute it's looking, but I'm not done yet. I thought let's add a piece of greenery in the back of the wing as well. Just adding a little bit of double hot glue right there, holding it in place as the greenery is erect. And that is it for this one. Look how cute this turned out. Let me know in the comment section. What do you think about this one? I feel like I should put greenery on the other side. What do you think? Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's episode, here are a couple more videos you are sure to enjoy. Thank you so much for stopping by. You're amazing. Bye.